on Worcester News tonight, aiming to prevent deaths and serious injuries along railway tracks. The city partners in the new effort to keep railways safe. Plus, celebrating cultural diversity, Worcester County Courthouse is decorated with the flags of many nations today. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Anna Botari. Worcester City Councilors have officially approved the financing plan to build a stadium for the Pawtucket Red Sox. The $100 million loan was the final approval needed for the city to break ground on the 10,000-seat Polar Park. The vote was 9-1 in favor of the deal, with City Councilor Constantina Lukes the only one to oppose it. Councillor Matthew Wally recused himself from the vote as his employer played a role in luring the team. The city can now hire a project manager and start working on designs for the Madison Street site. Worcester is eyeing July of 2019 as the groundbreaking for the park. Mayor Joseph Petty says the timeline they are currently on requires half of construction to be completed by January of 2020. Pawtucket Red Sox President Charles Steinberg weighing in Wednesday on City Council's final vote. Dr. Steinberg says the approval opens the door for the community to help with the stadium's design.
We'll begin our fan plan meetings and tell us what you want in a ballpark. If you're a mom bringing a 2-year-old and a 6-year-old, what do you want? If you're someone bringing an octogenarian to the game, tell us what you need.
Steinberg says the AAA baseball team wants to make sure the park is welcoming to everyone in the city. A 2-car accident causing traffic delays on Arrarat Street in Worcester this afternoon. Police were on scene around 1:30 Wednesday. One car sustained heavy damage and ended up through a fence. The other car on the grass beside the road. No word on injuries or the cause of the crash. UMass Memorial Medical Center announcing it will discontinue outpatient psychiatric and outpatient physical therapy starting in January. Hospital spokesman Tony Berry says the cuts are due to declining volume, inability to provide sufficient patient access in sites unsuited for the psychiatric care. They will impact the Henneman campus and on Queen Street. The outpatient physical therapy service will also be closed on the Henneman campus. A new 120-bed psychiatric hospital is set to open in January in Worcester. UMass Memorial Healthcare is exploring a new outpatient physical therapy service in Shrewsbury. UMass Memorial Healthcare is also reporting a $22 million loss on operations due to lower Medicaid reimbursements. The City of Worcester and the Federal Roadway Administration recognizing Rail Safety Week. The goal is to eliminate trespassing and injuries on local train tracks. Our Cam Jandro joins us now live with more. Cam?
Anna, more than 500 people were killed in 2017 as a result of trespassing on a railway. Another 500 were injured in similar accidents. Today, Worcester was awarded a grant to make sure these types of things do not happen. City leaders met at the railroad tracks behind 44 Hammond Street, one of the 8 spots identified as a problematic trespassing location. As a part of the Railway Administration's Community Trespassing Prevention Initiative, Worcester will receive more than $93,000. The grant will allow Worcester Police to enforce the Trespass Prevention Program.
While the goal of this program is to reduce the number of trespasses on the rail lines, we will also be addressing quality of life issues such as trash volume along the tracks, graffiti, and homeless encampments. We have specialized units equipped to handle these issues.
The city reached out to the Railroad Administration in 2015 when the Maine South Alliance for Public Safety reported kids were using train tracks as shortcuts. The administration says the hope was to deter people from going on the tracks.
A loaded freight train going 55 miles an hour on a flat, dry surface, 18 football fields, or 5,280 feet, a mile or more to stop. So if a train can see you, a train cannot stop in time to avoid you. So these are just some of the facts that we're trying to get out there.
Worcester is one of just 4 cities to receive a rail safety grant this year. Wednesday also marks National Trespass Prevention Day. Anna?
Thanks, Cam. A marijuana business is taking Charlton to land court. In May, Charlton selectmen approved host and development agreements with Valley Green Grow, who plan to build a $100 million medical and recreational marijuana operation on Charlton Orchard's land. According to the attorneys representing Valley Green Grow, their lawsuit looks at the legality of a proposed general bylaw offered by a citizens group to ban recreational marijuana in town. Charlton residents had previously voted in favor of adult use marijuana, and the town had put zoning bylaws in place. The company's attorneys say under Massachusetts law, once zoning bylaws are adopted, they can only be changed by passage of new zoning bylaws. Celebrating cultural diversity, courthouses across Massachusetts are holding events to educate people about inclusiveness. Our Chandler Walsh has the story.
The Worcester Superior Court is decorated with flags.
It reminds everyone of what makes Worcester great, all the different cultures, the different traditions.
Courthouses and correction centers across the state are celebrating cultural diversity this week. Worcester's Celebration Wednesday is one of the largest.
We have incredible diversity here in Worcester and across this country, but at the end of the day, it's what makes us one that really makes us the great nation that we are.
Pemerson Eiffel is a probation supervisor in the Massachusetts trial court. He came up with the idea for the events and says the goal is to educate court employees on diversity and inclusiveness.
Let's engage each other. Let's talk about race. Let's talk about gender. Let's talk about all of those things that sometimes create inherent tensions, but also welcome our communities in.
Court employees and visitors ate food from different countries and watched performances. Local groups like CASA set up booths to show their support. The nonprofit helps neglected children in Worcester courts.
The situation that has put them into the court system is often because of cultural differences and cultural misunderstandings.
District Attorney Joseph Early Jr. and Sheriff Lou Evangelitis addressed the crowd, saying it's important to celebrate Worcester's diversity since many different people come through the courthouse.
We all come here today to remind everyone at the courthouse that everyone who comes through these doors is treated with respect and dignity.
This is the first year these courthouse events are part of a Cultural Appreciation Week. Children's artwork and the flags will remain at the courthouse over the next few days. Chandler Walsh, Worcester News Tonight.
Even though summer may be over, there's still the risk of West Nile virus. The state's Department of Public Health says mosquitoes are attracted to standing water. DPH announced earlier this week the 25th human case of West Nile virus, which is up significantly from last year, which only saw 6 cases. Worcester's DPH says once we experience a major frost, cases will start to decline, but we're not in the clear just yet.
They're still the kind of bugs that like to be out at dawn and dusk, and the days are definitely getting shorter and people have less time to get out there. I know they want to get out there, but they're going out in the dark. And when you are, you're at risk.
DPH is reminding everyone to cover up and wear DEET while outside. A team of computer scientists at WPI are developing a phone app which could assess the health of soldiers. According to the researchers, sensors in a smartphone would collect data to detect signs of medical conditions, with the goal of finding potentially severe illnesses at their earliest stages and alerting soldiers to get treatment. The Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency is supporting the work with a 4-year, $2.8 million award through a program called Warfighters Analytics using smartphones for health.
So the idea is essentially that the soldier has zero interaction. So the phone is completely gathering all this data and then pushing it to the cloud where it's analyzed and make inference and say who has increased risk that they have TBI or infectious diseases.
It's also critical because they don't see a doctor very often. They are in an environment where there might be not easy access to medical attention. And so even if they saw them every 3 months or every 6 months, that would be way too late to detect some of these things. And for the individual, it's of course also amazing, right? If I can early, as the first symptom arises, before I even know that I'm sick, if something could alert me, something is happening, you're not well, you have TBI, I could take the right precautions.
Researchers will be conducting a study in the future where they'll collect data from 100 volunteers and later test on a larger scale. All participants in the data gathering study for the app will be voluntary and all data is confidential. Getting a first-hand look at what it takes to be a competitive gamer. Becker College holds a training session Wednesday in the school's varsity eSports program. Becker is the first college in Massachusetts to offer scholarships to select varsity eSports student athletes. The competitive video gaming program's general manager says the goal is to establish Becker as a championship-driven eSports powerhouse.
Esports is just like any other sport, right? It's the only exception being that instead of on a field, you're on a screen. But it's a lot of competition, a lot of strategic thinking, problem solving, communication, teamwork.
So to have the opportunity to come here, play the game at the highest level that I can, which is, fascinating. It's always pushing myself. It's the same as playing hockey in high school, pushing yourself to be the best player you can every day.
Becker is also offering a Bachelor of Science in Esports Management starting January of 2019.